Great, let me exit the Python session and execute the program basics.py. So the way the program is executing is we're storing this list in the address variable, we're storing this dictionary in the pins variable, we're printing out the first and the second item of the list using the print function, and then the program executes this line. Now in this line we are storing the output of the int function in the pin variable. So functions, they produce some output, and when you create a variable and you assign the function in that variable, basically you are assigning the output of the function in that variable. The output of the int function in this case is dependent on this argument. So the argument of the int function is yet another function. So it's quite tricky, a little bit. And so this other function is the input function. And the input function has this input as this argument itself. And so what an input function does is it basically suspends the program and it asks the user to enter some input. And once the user enters some input, let's say 10, the program goes to the next lines. In this case, it didn't find a correct pin code because 10 is not in any of these pin codes, so it interrupts. But yeah, the idea is that the program will resume when you enter input and press enter. Now let's look at another example of the input function. Let's create a script with nano. Let's call this try input.py. Let's make a program that calculates the square of a number, or in other words, it calculates the power of 2 for a number. And let's create a variable user input and use the input function that we're talking about and ask the user to enter a number. That has to be in quotes and in round brackets. And so let's say the user enters 10 and you want to calculate the power of 2 for 10. That would be, so you want to print that out, user input in the power of 2. Let's see what we get. Y, enter. Python 3, try input, enter a number 10, and we get an error. This is saying type error unsupported operand type. So this is saying that basically the number you are using is a string, it's not an integer. And that is because the input function always produces a string output. So even when you pass a number, even when the user passes a number like 10, this function will convert it to the string 10, not number 10. In that case, you want to convert that string into an integer or a float, if you like. Let's keep it an integer for now. If you try this now, enter 10, you'll get 100, which is the square of 10. And so you could also do this another way. You can use the int function directly at source. So you can put it here and directly immediately convert the user input into an integer. That would work the same. It doesn't work. I did something wrong there for sure. Yeah, I did. Basically, I am calculating the power of 2 for the print function. This has to be like that. Execute 10, and you get 100 this time. So as you see now, this here is the same as this one in here. And the reason why we're converting this to an integer is because the user is passing a pin code like 1, 2, 3, 4, but in the dictionary you see that these are not in quotes, the pin codes. These are in integers. So therefore we need to convert them to integers, because otherwise when we compare them later here in the code, like this, for example, let's say you compare 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, and you get false because this is not the same as this. If you do 1, 2, 3, 4, compare it with 1, 2, 3, 4, you get true. So this is an equal operator. It compares, it checks if two objects are the same or not. You also have the other comparison operators for numbers, like that, checking which number is greater. So as simple as that. And that's how the input function works. And I'll talk to you in the next lecture.